For years, the norm for a job has been permanent full or part-time employment. But recently, more and more people are beginning to take on a variety of short-term jobs, also known as gigs. These include things like freelancing, temp jobs, jobs in the sharing economy, and more. All of these different jobs form something called the gig economy. The gig economy is beginning to take up a larger portion of the workforce, and studies show no sign of it slowing down. This is partially due to the evolution of technology. Companies are now able to hire workers anywhere in the world who can then easily telecommute and work remotely for them. Mobile apps have allowed businesses like Uber and Airbnb to grow an enormous amount of contract workers. And social media has given people the ability to market themselves and sell their products and services at a much cheaper cost than traditional advertising. It's hard to say exactly how the rise of the gig economy will affect and change the future of the job market, but we do know that both companies and workers will need to continue to adapt to it.
The gig economy is characterised by the payment of workers for the gigs that they complete, such as a taxi ride or food delivery. There are currently 1.3 million gig economy workers in the UK alone. So what are the benefits for the employees?
Tell me when it's time to. Sweetheart is bleeding in the snow cone. So smart, she's leading me to ozone.
And what are the benefits for the employers?
Two sticks to make it in the nature. I'll fit you into penetration. The gender of a generation. The birth of every other nation. Look your way to go to meditation. This chapter's gonna be a close one. Smoke rings, I know you're gonna blow one. All on a spaceship persevering. Use my hands for everything but steering. Can't stop the spirits when they need you. Mom tops are happy when they feed you. Butterflies in the treetop. Birds that blow the meaning in the leaf of the world I love.
But is this growing business concept really ethical in today's business climate? With adverts such as these being produced and growing media attention to this subject, we decided to take a closer look into what it's really like to work for a company in the gig economy.
My name is Melanie Smith and I worked for Yodel for a short period of time. It was quite a negative experience. There was very little training given, and the equipment you needed to do the job was often temperamental. You would meet at an allocated area, you were given your sack of parcels, you'd then have to scan each one, try and put them in some form of order, and then go and deliver them. Often people weren't in, and where people had said they were happy for them to be left, you couldn't access these places. You then also had collections to pick up, and you only got paid for the ones that you actually managed to deliver. I was on a 0-hour contract, but I was never presented with an actual contract to sign. There was a benefit that I could do this alongside my other job, just as a way to earn extra money, but other than that, I can't really feel there was any benefit. In my opinion, for this sort of job to give you an actual decent full-time wage, you would have to deliver an enormous amount of parcels, and there wouldn't have been enough hours in the day to do that. I don't really feel that it's sustainable as a full-time job. You don't have the knowledge of the amount of money you've got coming in. It's very hard to commit to financial arrangements when you don't know how much money you're going to have coming in. I would never work in the gig economy again, but I can see for students and young people who want that kind of flexibility and be able to not work if they were needing to study or whatever, I could see it being a good option for them.
Okay?
Yeah.
I've been picture framing for 30 years. I took the business on from somebody else, and that's all I've done since. Benefits are I have my own time, I can organise my own day, I'm not responsible for anybody else, and I don't report to anybody else. But I do have to organise my own day, which is very important. Drawbacks would be there's no sick pay, so I must be here. I answer to the customers, so if the customers need the jobs done, I will do my best to do that. And also I've got to sort my own pension out. I took on a customer base and they've served me well, but after 30 years I've become more known for my own style of work, and that's continued to be the best way of advertising is word of mouth. Zero-hour workers will suit some people and not others. I don't think people can complain if they go into that business knowing that, as long as they know what they're getting into. It suits some people and not others. Gig economy is a good thing, I think. Any competition is good competition. If people don't accept it, they must change. If it drives prices down, other businesses have got to be competitive, so it is a good competitive thing. The gig economy will take some business away from other companies. Smaller companies are usually pretty niche and have their own customer base. Maybe some of the bigger ones, but again, competition is good, so I think it can only be a good thing. For being employed by anybody else, I do enjoy being self-employed. I have my own time. There are the disadvantages as well as the advantages, but I don't know anything different. Being self-employed is not that stable unless you really know your business. Working for a bigger company, you do get the benefits of having a pension and sick pay, etc. paid for you. It depends what you're looking for. If you've got a mortgage, you've got a family, it may be more advantageous to have a stable income. But being self-employed, you're doing something that you want to do, and it's obviously got its benefits of flexibility. Zero-hour works, again, suits some people. If it's something that fills a gap in your employment, i.e. if you're a student, you need extra money, but you don't know what you're doing from one week to the next. I used to do ballooning, which was great because it was a friend of mine. If the weather was good, we used to fly. If it didn't, it was cancelled. I didn't get sick pay, but it was just an extra boost to my income.
I've worked on a 0-hour contract in the retail sector. Working on a 0-hour contract, it's good because you can give up shifts whenever you don't want to do them. If you get planned, you can just get rid of your shift for that evening. But negatively, if there's not enough demand, if the store's not busy enough, you kind of feel like you've just been dropped. So they'll use you a lot to meet the demand when you know that the store is busy, and then when it gets quiet, they kind of drop you. You're not needed. You know you can't come in and earn some extra money if you need it. The main difference I feel between working on a 0-hour contract and working for a company such as Deliveroo, which I've got a couple of friends who do work for that company, is that I will be guaranteed, when I am working and I am doing the hours, I am guaranteed the national minimum wage, whereas they're not. They're getting paid kind of per delivery. So I feel that 0-hour contract is much more reliable than working for a company like that. Working on a 0-hour contract, I don't receive any sick pay, but we do get holiday pay, which is good. Basically, if you work enough shifts, you earn up the amount of, 1 day holiday. And then if you keep working and keep doing shifts, you can build up your holiday pay to 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, and you can take those whenever you want. And that would be the equivalent of 8 hours pay on that day. So that's a real plus. Although working on a 0-hour contract is good for whilst I'm a student, I actually work it alongside another role. So in terms of that, it's great that I can work 2 jobs at once and get that extra income. But when I graduate, I would definitely not look to be working on a 0-hour contract. I'd be looking to be an employee with contracted hours, benefits, and knowing exactly what I'm going to be paid each month, well, roughly, so that you can make plans and commitments for future. In terms of the ethicality of the gig economy, I think it's perfectly fine. I think people know what they're getting into, or should know what they're getting into, and be aware if they're going to be unhappy earning below the national minimum wage or not. And I think the only reason the gig economy is growing is because people keep joining it. The work's there and people are taking it. If they don't like that, then they should get into something different. I also think it works both ways in terms of, for example, I'm on a 0-hour contract, so I don't have to give any notice if I just suddenly want to leave. I don't have to go in at all. So, I'm leaving the company a person short there, but that's just the way it works. So, employees, self-employed or, 0-hour contract workers, they do call the shots a bit more as well. So it works, swings and roundabouts.
Thank you very much, Matthew. While avoiding overbearing regulation, we will make sure people have the rights and protections they need. That means building on our high employment rate and low unemployment rate, and continuing to strive for full employment.
So from my point of view, as sort of like a selfish consumer, I use Uber and Deliveroo all the time, and although I'm aware of the kind of unethical side of Uber, and it's always in the news and it doesn't always get like a brilliant rep, and I know my parents don't love me to use it, there's concerns about safety, but for me it all comes down to the price and convenience. When I come home from the train station, I can get an Uber for like £7, and in a taxi it would be double that, and I can see the number plate, I can see when it's arriving, I don't have to ring anyone, I can just do it on my phone as I'm coming down the escalator.
And no cash.
And no cash, exactly. No one has cash anymore, so that's kind of, that overrides everything else, which I appreciate is like a selfish perspective, but that's where I'm at with it. How do you feel about it?
I can totally understand the cash point of view. I don't carry cash myself, but from an ethical stance, I just can't really justify the low wage and the 0-hour contracts of an independent contractor.
Yeah.
I know from working in a customer service based sector that money is tight sometimes. It means that the workers are getting no holiday pay and sometimes very few breaks. So even though I understand its convenience, I feel I personally wouldn't use it from an ethical and moral perspective, really.
Yeah. When considering if a gig economy is ethical in today's business climate, many sources, opinions and statistics have been taken into account. The research and findings uncovered in this project do not draw a firm conclusion as to whether the gig economy is ethical, but rather they expand the knowledge and awareness of this challenging topic that society faces.
A crucial finding that has been acknowledged through the demystification of this topic is the rapid rate of growth this economy is having, fueled not only by the customer but also by the employees, due to its accessibility, availability and advances in technology encouraging a consumer shift towards all things digital.
Another conclusion drawn through primary research is the lack of customer and public knowledge regarding the unethical areas of the gig economy and the blurred lines between different employment statuses, which ultimately affect individuals' perceptions of gig work and then their likelihood of entering the gig economy in the future.
Can't stop the spirits when they need you. This life is more than just a read through.